Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. Shout out to Passport OG for inspiring today's stream. Y'all know I don't really be doing scheduled streams. I just come when I come. But I'm here and I'm glad to be. If you are too, I'm glad to see you. I'm not going to take long. Hello, the cynical one. Can always count on seeing the cynical one in the chat, and I really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm always grateful for your support. I mean that. Shout out to Mr. Suge, to you for being the first one in the building, and Indigo Flow for giving me flowers. One to put in my hair. I don't have it in my hair at the moment. I do not, but I would put a flower in my hair. That's the kind of gal I am. You know, just a little whimsy. You see me? You see me? You see me? I'm gonna bring back all of my StreamYard credentials at some point. I am, but for now, I just reinstated my StreamYard premium account for a short period of time. We gonna see. I got some things percolating. Also, let me go ahead and put myself on screen. Hi y'all. It's hot as I don't know what in New Jersey right now. So I had to pull the locks up today, at least in the front, just to, even though they're on my neck and it's hot on my neck, it's not as bad because they're not too long yet. But child, when they get like a few more inches longer, I can already tell I'm gonna be a locks up kind of girl. I'm not gonna be a locks down kind of girl. I'm definitely gonna have my locks up the longer they get. But yeah, I wanted to start it off by cluing you guys in on some things before I get into the topic, which Passport OG is responsible for me even talking about this. So I hope that I do him proud. I wanted to do a pre-record, but there's just not enough time in the day. I start my day at 5 a.m. I go for a walk. Then I come back and immediately get ready for work. And then I go to work. And by the time I get off work, I don't really have it in me to like dissect clips, put them together, and do it in such a fashion that Passport OG does. He's masterful at it. Gotta give it to him. But yeah, good stuff. Hey, Better You. Yes, this week is Mercury retrograde. 3 celebs done passed away. They say it happens in threes, right? So I guess, shout out to Malcolm Jamal Warner. Rest in peace to him. Yeah, I hope your day went well too, Better You. My day went well. I started the day with gratitude, and I feel like any day you start with gratitude tends to go well. And I am the type of person who is much more intentional about her days, especially when Mercury is retrograde, because that definitely makes things murky. When Mercury is in retrograde, communication goes crazy. Technology fails, your car, your transportation, stuff like that tends to get really, so I try to be really intentional during that transit, because Mercury retrograde ain't nothing to play with. It's just not, y'all. I had just enough time to come home and take off my work clothes and put on this t-shirt for y'all. So I'm sorry I'm not dressed to the nines or dressed in a way that you guys are probably used to seeing me dressed, but it's too hot. It was time for me to come up out of them clothes. And right now I'm sitting in a chair with just a t-shirt on because it's too hot for pants. It's too hot for shorts. But I digress. Yeah, so we had Malcolm Jamal Warner pass, we had Ozzy Osbourne pass, and we had Hulk Hogan today pass. Um, my guess is that we don't make it out of Mercury retrograde without some more people passing, but I'm not wishing death on anybody. Just seems like that's the vibes though. This Mercury retrograde is in Leo, which is not lost on me. We are currently in Leo season. I love that for us. My birthday is a week from today. I don't know if I'll do a birthday stream, but you can prepare to get sick of me for the rest of Leo season because I haven't really posted about it yet, but I will. I'm gonna do some shorts. I'm gonna do some shorts and some random live streams throughout Leo season just to remind y'all. Passport OG is a Leo. Um, Art New Style is a Leo. Uh, AM1 is a Leo. Um, who else? I'm drawing a blank now. I know there's some other Leos in the space. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to all the Leos. It's Leo season. It's lion time. My favorite time of the year. What else did I want to talk to you guys about? If you didn't catch my most recent live, that was from last weekend. I had the pleasure of returning to Dallas for a moment, and that was really nice. I had a really good time, a really good weekend, just revisiting my old stomping grounds, but also seeing some new ones. I really enjoyed my time there. And it was nice because it had been a year since I had been in the area. So it was nice to kind of see like what has changed, what has come and gone. Even to go past my old apartment. It was like, wow, okay. All right. Look at that. You know? And it also made me want to go back and revisit some of the other places I've lived on a spiritual level. Does anybody ever have that urge to go back to like maybe an old school they went to or an old house they lived in? I have a nostalgia kink. I realized that about myself. Like one of my quirks is that I have a nostalgia kink. Like I really like to commemorate things. I love when I'm experiencing something and I have a morsel of it that I can take with me and refer back to later. Um, I mean, I still have photo albums from like middle school. Like I really just love being able to reach back in time. And I feel this urge to go back to some of these old places that I've lived and just sit with the emotion of being in that space and connect with my younger self. And yeah, it just feels like something spiritually I'm being called to do. So I'll probably be doing that. I don't know if I'm gonna film it. I don't know if I'm gonna like let you guys in on it, but something that I'm thinking about. Something that I've been thinking about. I think going back to Dallas for the weekend kind of kicked that into high gear for me. I had a lot of talk, a lot of ancestral talk while I was out there, and you know, I talk about my ancestors a lot because I realize that I'm not who I am and where I am and what I'm doing without what they've done, who they've been, and where they've been. Um, so I think it's a good audit, a good personal audit to go back and revisit some of those things, whether it be a place you lived, a book you read, a journal, whatever. I think it's good practice. Mr. Shook to you said, I had just had a lady I've trained for the past 2 years quit on me today. Now I'm stuck working a 17-hour day, not looking forward to training another FML. Well, that's the rub, isn't it? And in this day and age, I think we're starting to see the fallout of this dichotomy where you have people who are not afraid of hard work and who are accustomed to it. And then this generation who's like, yeah, nah, we're not doing that. Right? Dr. Dunbar is in the building. He said, my brother is a Leo. For us novices, what is Mercury retrograde? The Cliff Notes version. So Mercury retrograde, I've talked about this on my channel before, but it bears repeating. Retrograde means backwards. So anytime a planet is moving backwards, it means that it's not operating at its full strength, but also you have to take into consideration what sign it's in during that transit. So since Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year, it happens every 3 months. So if you break the year up into units of 3, it makes sense, right? And it doesn't last for a full month, but because there's a shadow period in the beginning and a shadow period at the end, it feels like a month. It does. It really is 3 weeks, but it tends to feel more like a month by the time the energy has subsided. But the good thing about Mercury retrograde in particular is that Mercury is the planet of communication. So if we're thinking about the planet of communication moving backwards, you can expect for conversations not to go necessarily how you want them to. You can expect for people to misinterpret the things that you say. You can expect for some arguments in some cases as well. And because Mercury is in retrograde in Leo, because we are in Leo season, the sign of Leo, while not as aggressive or violent as Aries, our brother fire sign, we are still very passionate people. And so it's a time for igniting that passion. We also have a new moon in Leo today. So in addition to it being Leo season, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the planets. I hope that gave you some insight, Dr. D. He said, yes, all the time. Those are chapters. Exactly. I think he was referring to my Nostalgia Kink talk. I did drive by all my old pads 3 weeks ago and it hit up a few of the foodie spots on my day off. I miss being young. Yeah, I just was saying to my mom the other day, I miss coming home and watching Nickelodeon. Like, Nickelodeon used to be my shit, y'all. Like, I loved Nickelodeon. And I miss that time of coming home and being excited to watch it and to see like Clarissa Explains It All, and 15 used to be my show, yo. We thought we was grown. We was not. You Can't Do That on Television. I used to love Eureka's Castle. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. The Cynical One says, Mercury in retrograde, astrological significance and common effects in astrology. Mercury rules communication, thinking, and travel. When Mercury appears to move backward, astrologers believe these areas can be negatively impacted, potentially causing delays, misunderstandings, and technical difficulties. So yeah, that's basically what I just said. Mercury retrograde is an optical illusion where the planet appears to move backward in its orbit from our perspective on Earth. This phenomenon occurs roughly 3 or 4 times a year because Earth and Mercury orbit the sun at different speeds, creating the appearance of backward motion. Exactly. Hey, Mr. Z, good to see you. Always a pleasure when you're in the building. Double Dare. Yeah, I used to love Double Dare. And yes, Nickelodeon. Yes. How you not gonna mention Hey Arnold? Because I feel like I just missed the Hey Arnold era. I remember it, but I really wasn't into it. Like, I was more into Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats. But even that was like, okay, you're getting too mature now. But yeah, Doug, of course. My bad for not mentioning Hey Arnold. You right. Pete and Pete, The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Yeah, when you're salaried, it ain't no fun. But I'm trying to get back there. I'm not salaried right now. And now I would like to be salaried again. And I think that's coming for me. I think that once Mercury retrograde is over, I'll be signing some papers and some things, and I'll be able to come to you guys and give you the good news. But until then, I'll go ahead and get into why we're here, the pitfalls of public perception. Now, I'm going to admit, I don't know much about Klay Thompson. I really don't. All I know is that the man is publicly dating Megan Thee Stallion now, and folks have been in a little bit of an uproar about that ever since they've made that public. Now, I don't get too deep into having opinions about celebrities because I do realize that a lot of what we see from celebrities is basically fodder for our engagement more so than it is a reflection of their real lives or who they really are. And so for that reason, I don't spend too much time spending energy on it. And I don't think that Passport OG was trying to get me to do that. I think he just wanted me to like talk about it from my perspective. And the reason I titled this live stream, The Pitfalls of Public Perception, is because you have Megan Thee Stallion, who is perceived a lot. She is a figure. I wouldn't say she's polarizing at all, but I would say that from what we know of her and the things that we've been able to see that she represents, because she's been, I think, very intentional about how she gets out in front of us. It's interesting to see what has occurred since the whole hot girl summer thing, right? It's interesting to see how life has moved her away from that. Let's just call it that. You know, like when she was younger, and this is the thing, I get it. When we're younger, we do things that maybe oh yes, Dr. Dunbar, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. The Tory Lanez business. I'm going to get to that too, because you have to mention it. You can't talk about Megan Thee Stallion without mentioning Tory Lanez, because that, I still don't think we have the full story on that. I don't think we'll ever get the full story on that. But yeah, so we saw her come in hot as a rapper, literally touting hot girl summer, pouring liquor down women's throats, both celebrity and non-celebrity women. We that's how we got introduced to Megan Thee Stallion. It still remains to be seen that there's a level of talent there, in my opinion. It remains to be seen. I think that she is a formidable talent at best, but I don't think that she's like none of her songs have made me go, wow, she can really spit, or wow, I can't wait to see how her career shapes up, or, you know, nothing about her music is like groundbreaking, jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring. None of it to me, but people like her. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she came in on the scene with that hot girl summer mess, and, you know, pointing towards her youth and looking really good. The gowns are beautiful. I will say that. Megan Thee Stallion is something nice to look at for sure. But I'm bringing this up about her talent because I'm going to refer back to it a little bit later. Hey, UFO Kamikaze. You call me Cutie Toya. Wait, before we get into this a little bit, I really want to ask y'all a question. Okay, some of you in this chat have met me personally, so you've had the ability to take me in physically, right? But a lot of you have not met me personally. Based on what you have seen of me, use one word to describe in the chat. If you don't mind, just do me this favor. I'll come back to it. Use one word to describe my physicality. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Just type one word in the chat to describe my physicality, based on what you have seen of me. I would really like to know that. So anyway, back to the topic at hand. Hold on. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. And Mr. Shook to you said, if nothing else, I hope Stallion makes good use of Clay's publicist. Well, it looks like she is. I mean, by all accounts of what we've seen, I think so. Hey, Third Ward, Thugger Ward, Thugger Ward in the building. I'm never letting you live that down. That Platinum calls you Thugger Ward. I'm never. I know you're Third Ward Colombian, but you're Thugger Ward to me. Better You says most music these days is like that. Eric Deadman in the building. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, pitfall, hidden or unsuspected difficulty, otherwise known as a booby trap, right? Pitfall. That's what I mean. The pitfalls of public perception, right? What's the booby trap associated with public perception? Well, first of all, you don't have any control over it. As much as celebrities try to, and publicists help, you really don't have the ability to sway public opinion in the ways that you once were able to now, because we all have opinions, we all have access to things, we all have phones, we all have different lenses that we're viewing things through. And now that we understand the job of a publicist much more than we once did, even that doesn't quite work. But I will say that this reeks of publicity stunt. This relationship to me reeks of publicity stunt. I think that Clay is taking a risk by publicly dating her because he's opening up himself to social ridicule, but also social debt. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Klay Thompson doesn't have a huge social media profile. He's not someone that I see making headlines for his hot takes. I don't see him on Twitter. And the thing is, I'm not a sports girl. I'm not a sports cabal girl, right? But I am friends with people who are very much into sports. And I noticed that I don't really see them talking about him very often if it doesn't have anything to do with his game. That's an important part, an important point in my opinion, because it solidifies the fact that we know what he's here for. We know what he came to do. There's no confusion there. Whereas there's some athletes and celebrities that kind of dip their toes in so many different things that you kind of don't know what to expect. So I think that Clay is taking on a huge risk by publicly dating this woman because she's already been known as the hot girl, summer girl, pouring liquor down women's throats, which isn't the best perception. It's not the best light to paint yourself in. But then you have the Tory Lanez thing, which Dr. Dunbar mentioned in the chat. So we didn't know they were dating, never really publicly dated, but we know that there was at least a physical relationship there that went really wrong. She tried to distract us with music, and that didn't really work. We still to this day don't really have an honest account of what occurred the night that she got shot. So yeah, there's that. There's the fallout from everything that she walked back after saying these negative and disparaging things about Tory Lanez, who is in prison right now. As a man, I'm not sure I would want to jump into a public relationship with someone who I've already seen pretty much destroy another Black man's career. So again, Clay's taking a huge risk. But this is why I feel like it's a publicity stunt. What does Clay have to gain by aligning himself with this woman? What does Megan have to gain by aligning herself with this man? I would say she stands to gain way more than he does. Now, if he's attempting to put some sort of edge on his persona and liken himself to women, maybe this is a way to do that. Maybe it is. Because again, she's not a bad looking woman. She looks good standing next to him. She puts on great dresses. I mean, the body is bodying. Even if she's not your type face-wise, she's got a really nice body. You can't deny that. And then there's a trap associated with looking past the warning signs and the red flags. That's what makes me scratch my head a bit. Because if you were doing this for the sake of publicity and getting in front of people that maybe you weren't in front of before, Clay, there's probably other women you could have done that with. Now we know Lori Harvey isn't an option now, because I think that method has but I feel like there's got to be some other women that maybe aren't as public, but also haven't had so much scuttlebutt around them that he could have achieved this with. Even if it is a well-meaning relationship, the conversation of mutual benefit has to have happened by now. Okay. What are you guys saying in the chat? Okay, Indigo Flow agrees with me. Anwar Dunbar says Clay has a Monk Sigma male energy. Okay, I can see that. He's an Aquarius. They're both Aquariuses, by the way. They both are Aquarius suns, Leo moons. Now, it's not certain what Clay's rising sign is, but Megan's is Taurus. Clay's is either Aries or Taurus. But because we don't know the exact time of his birth, we can't be sure. But I have to talk about the astrology in this, but we'll get back to that. He has a largely untarnished persona, and Megan has the power to sway the public perception of Clay. Better You says he's a quiet guy that's into the arts. He's less in the spotlight now since he broke up the Splash Brothers and went to Dallas. I don't even know what that means. Who are the Splash Brothers? And is that like some kind of water park? And I don't know what that means, the Splash Brothers. Sorry. Eric Dedman says, I could be wrong, but I don't see this relationship with Clay and Megan lasting too long. Probably will be over by the start of the NBA season. The brothers in the locker room gonna give Clay hell. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like there has to be some sort of long game that we just don't quite yet see, whether he may be positioning himself for the woman he intends to marry and have children with, or whether he's laying the scene for just showing that he's out here and available. I don't know. We will see, because a lot of times these things lend themselves to other ventures that an athlete may want to get into. And that may very, very well be the case here. We've already seen her have multiple other relationships with people in the public after Tory Lanez. You've got Partisan Fontaine, who was a producer, which that didn't seem equally yoked. And then there was someone else that she was seen with that I'm drawing a blank on right now. But then you've got people saying that Ciara and Russell had something to do with this, and that they're doing this whole try to link up young Black folks with each other to get married, which I don't have an issue with that. I think that's a good thing. But it also can be a very daunting task, as we saw the conversation Ciara had with Jim Jones. I digress. Paula, welcome. She says, how do you feel about Tory texting Jason from Neighborhood Talk saying he took charge because he didn't want to take a child away from their mother? Well, I don't know. Whose child would he be taking away from? I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I didn't know that. I just think that that man probably has a story to tell that we won't hear until a lot later. And honestly, the way he's been quiet about what really happened points towards the benevolence that Black men always tend to extend to us as Black women. And I feel like that doesn't get said enough. I feel like that doesn't get appreciated enough. And that's what pisses me off too, because it's like you have a man, Klay Thompson, successful, good looking, into the arts, according to Indigo Flow. I didn't know that. Better you. Um, I don't think it's going to last long either. And it does seem like he can do better. It does. I look at this and I say, I mean, it's a cute photo op, but I don't know that this has staying power. Even the clip that I watched of them recently on the putting green, you even had people on Twitter saying things like, whenever they were at some award show recently and she was turning up and people were like, sis, like trying to nudge her, like, yo, you haven't locked it in yet, so maybe don't be so you yet. Splash Brothers, Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, best shooting duo in the. Oh, okay, so it's just the two of them, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. I don't know why I thought that there was like a group, but okay, all right. Oh, exceptional shooters. Yeah, when I was in Dallas, there was a guy sitting at the bar next to me. We did not go together or anything. He just happened to be sitting next to me. Or I sat next to him because he was already there. So naturally we started to chat a little bit. And he was an ex-basketball player. And it's funny because, you know, I used to play basketball too. But we talked about the fact that, you know, even as you get washed up and you don't play anymore, your jump shot never leaves you. If you had a good jump shot, chances are you still have that muscle memory. So, okay, I can get that. They're exceptional shooters. Nickname for their prolific three-point shooting. I used to be able to, yeah. Yeah. Oh, Kelsey. Oh, her friend. Oh, okay. And that's another thing. She's been very quiet about it too. I just feel like even with the footage that came out and her still standing upright talking to the police, I'm like, how did you get shot in the foot if you were still standing? I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe if it grazed your foot, but then if it grazed your foot, then why are we making this such a huge deal if you weren't like missing a toe? I don't know. It just all seems like mired in deception and mystery, and I ain't got time for that. Thank you for clearing all that up for me. Thank you, Third Ward, because I really didn't know. I had no idea. To say that we sacrifice, we make, it is taken for granted would be an understatement. All the damage to our reputation and even livelihood to protect the woman. Yeah, it's not lost on me. It's not. But that's also why I can't ship this relationship. I can't support it because part of me knows that he can do better than this. So it's just like, all right, well, it's giving y'all are trying to sell us something later and you're just laying the groundwork for that or something. But also, another thing I thought about was Megan sees the end of her career already. So maybe she's earnestly trying to pivot towards motherhood, wifedom. I don't know. And maybe this is her chance at that. Maybe she thinks this is a good, viable option for that. Yeah, a rollout. Exactly. Eric, I'm going to need you to put the H on my name. My name is Toyah. He says, Toya, anyone who has had any training with firearms knows that story made no sense. Yeah, and it's obvious that I don't have training with firearms, right? By the way, I'm talking about it. But it just, I don't know. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of what I know, and something in the milk is not clean, you guys. So yeah, he has a lot to lose. She stands a lot to gain. You know, but thing about it is we can't ignore the astrology here. Them both having the same sun and moon sign doesn't automatically make them compatible. But what I will say is this: Leo and Aquarius are sister signs. You have two people with both of those signs in their charts in their big three. So there's a great potential for harmony there. There's a great potential for compatibility. But in the same way, there's also great potential for clashing, right? Because you have a woman who, Aquarius is a sign of humanitarian, right? So we saw that manifest with Megan in the way that she did the hot girl summer thing, and she kind of made it look like all girls get along as long as we're pouring liquor down each other's throat and we're having fun. And I'm facilitating that by showing up in a bikini with a big bottle of Tito's and ready to pour it down your throat because in the name of hot girl summering. One can make that argument, right? Again, I don't know very much about Clay, but I can imagine that as a basketball player, he probably is big on the team. He probably is big on keeping everybody together, and being the voice of the group, right? Even though he may not be an extrovert, because he doesn't seem like one to me, I can imagine that those are things that probably work well for the two of them. And then they both have a Leo moon, which is, if you know anything about Leos, we are passionate. We are givers. We love to see other people shine. We love to prop up the people that we love. So I could see that working for them as well if they learn how to balance it between the two of each other. Like, okay, this is your moment to shine. Let me make sure that you have this. And if Megan is able to step back from her music career persona and nestle into womanhood, maybe she's starting to get those nudges now about how she wants, okay, better you are out of pocket. He says, seems like she got a thing for shooters. You are out of pocket for saying that. But if you look at all of the guys that she's been linked to, there are no similarities physically. So I don't know what that's giving. We tend to have a type, so I don't know. It's just weird. Again, I mean, I think I have a pretty even keeled track record. If you look at the men that I've dated, you holy. Y'all are funny in the chat. But yeah, again, I think the biggest thing here is that there's a booby trap. That's what I mean about the pitfall of public perception. Whatever Clay thinks he stands to gain from this relationship probably will pale in comparison to what he stands to lose just by being connected to her. And look, as a woman, as a matter of fact, let me look it up because I'm not sure how old she is. Let me look up Megan Thee Stallion. Oh, she's 30. She turned 30 this year. Wow. Okay. Because I wasn't sure if she had quite hit that milestone, but I think that bears mentioning as well, right? Her being 30 years old, coming to terms with her own mortality, not having started a family yet. These are conversations that you start to have. Who was talking recently? I was listening to somebody talk about recently how they are 37 and would like to. Oh, Karrueche Tran. I wanted to bring her into this conversation. We've seen Karrueche go from dating Chris Brown to Victor Cruz to I'm not sure who. But she just went viral recently for wearing a muumuu and saying that she's stepping into her auntie era. But she also posted on her social media that she wants a baby. She's 37. And while she's a great looking gal, I mean, the truth of the matter is, you are long in the tooth to be starting a family. Then you saw this other thing that came out this week, which was saying that for the first time in a long time or ever, women in their 40s are outpacing having children versus teen moms, because young women are prioritizing their careers and their hot girl summers over having children. But I think we are witnessing the tides change at this point. I think we're witnessing women who effort to have it all or begin a career and come in hot as a success realize that, okay, yeah, but I really want to I mean, it's the wall. I think is coming sooner is all I'm trying to say. I think the wall is hitting a lot sooner than it used to, and we're seeing the effects of that. I don't think that Megan Thee Stallion and Karuchi have much more in common than that, but I just thought it was interesting when you look at the fact that these are two very public women who are very good looking, but don't have the trappings of motherhood and very much seem to want that. I won't say that Megan very much seems to want that, but I can imagine that this is probably her motivation for getting with a guy like Clay. There's got to be some little piece of her that is thinking about having a family and what that might look like and what she might want that to look like. I'm not reading that one either. Better you. Mr. Shook to You said, I took a projectile to the foot at 12-year-old after getting jumped on my way to basketball practice and still practiced with a black eye, busted lip, and leaking foot. Nobody gave a damn. Yeah. Yeah, sounds about right. Hey, Clue Studio. Clue Studio's in the building. Shout out to Clue. Well, yeah, those I guess are all of my thoughts about this. More to come because I'm sure there will be something that happens in the near future that either blows this relationship up and ends it, or she becomes pregnant and it becomes a link for life. I don't see them getting married though. And I don't mean to say that in a mean way. I would love for that to happen for both of them if it makes sense, if they're really happy with one another, and if this is not a publicity stunt. But other than that, I don't know. I think Clay stands to lose a lot by aligning himself with her. You know, he pretty much doesn't have very much of a social media presence, but in just a week's time of them soft launching their relationship on Instagram, we've already seen what that is doing. You know, if you've got people who don't even know him saying, warning her not to screw it up, it's because we all are looking at this like, hey, this could be your meal ticket, sis. I hate to say it that way, but I mean, black men are the prize. I don't think we should look at them as meal tickets, but I think that's the public perception. Again, this is the pitfall of public perception. You don't get to dictate how you come across if we are just giving these images. Black Uru, hey you. Clay is on his way out of the limelight and is using Meg to extend and branch out into other areas of fame. That's what I said earlier. I think that this is a rollout for something else that he plans to parlay into, pivot into. That's more of what this seems like to me, because otherwise I don't see where he stands to gain. There are billions of beautiful women on this planet, younger than 30, that he could align himself with, prop himself up next to, and take with him on award show dates. She's not. Am I being too harsh? I don't know. I don't know. That I'm not saying it would be like him showing up at my door and being like, Toya, I want you. I'm not saying it's like that, because I'm not delusional, right? But it's sort of on the lines of, you have access to 100 octane and you decided to take an 87 because she's popping. I think as a man, I would much rather have the 100 octane, the understated, not well known 100 octane on my arm than the hot girl, the ex hot girl summer 87, who be ready to funnel a beer when we go out. Not gonna lie, those kids would be hell of a athletic specimens with both of those. Yeah, genetics. I heard someone making that comparison as well, because she's a tall woman. She's 5'10", and she calls herself the Stallion for a reason. She's got good bones. So yeah, I mean, again, I could see that happening. I could see some child rearing happening. But a marriage or a long relationship, just this doesn't seem like it has the legs for that. I'm just waiting for us to find out that Dre is no longer with her 22-year-old. What's his name? Brandon Green? I forget his name. I'm just waiting for that news to hit. Their baby's what, a year old now? That baby is not going to make it out of toddlerhood before that relationship's over. I mean, there's just no way. There's just no way. And pardon me if I'm being the cynical one. Just going to borrow your name for a second, sis. Pardon me if I'm being the cynical one, but you don't make it to 40 years of life like I have and not have some bit of perspective on what it takes to attract a great relationship and maintain one. And I think that nowadays we are just really too flippant about that. We take it for granted until it's way too late. You know, and something tells me that Meg is getting those nudges and trying to, for lack of a better way of putting it, right her wrongs into the next phase of her life. Because you can't be a female rapper for too long. Look at Nicki Minaj. You know, look at her crashing out on the internet about SZA and being loud and wrong. I mean, this is what happens when you're trying to grasp at straws to keep a career that is really a young woman's sport. Because, and I'm not even saying that you can't be a rapper well into your 40s and 50s. Men are doing it. It's just that your material needs to mature with your audience. And I don't think Nicki Minaj has done a really good job of that. She should have been the blueprint for these younger acts to kind of understand how to parlay their career into becoming an older woman, especially once she had the kid and got married. Like, she's still doing a lot of hood rat stuff as a wife and mother. And it's just like, sis, you're 40. When are you going to put down the teething ring? You got to use that on your baby now. You shouldn't be chewing on it. But I digress. Black Google Strikes says she thinks she can pull a Ciara. Not sure she has quite the breeding Ciara had. Yeah, I don't think so either. And that was masterful how she did that. But again, we saw Ciara sit down after she had Future's baby. We saw her sit down, understand, you know, I think she did a reset. She went back to some things that she knew in terms of making music. She grew her portfolio in terms of, I think she branched into clothing and skincare, and took her time when it came to Russell. We saw all of that play out. And I don't think Megan can do the same thing. I don't. Especially when you consider the fact that Ciara was already a solidified female entertainer by the time she had her first child. So we gave her that pass, not only because we didn't see her, we never saw her really come out and besmirch Future. She took her lumps and moved on, which is, I think, what you should do in a situation where you don't see longevity with your child's father. Jalen Green is over his head. He is, and that's an opposite example of what I think Black Lulu Strikes is talking about. Because if Jalen Green had any parents worth their salt, this would have never gotten to the point that it is. We would never be talking about the fact that this man fathered a child with a woman 20 years his senior. We would not. Clue Studio says, so true. Female rappers are put into such a small box that it doesn't make sense to do it past 29. Yeah, especially when you consider the theatrics and the antics that went into Nicki Minaj's career. She came out very much as a caricature. And even when she started to try to get away from that, she saw that it was hard to, because once you introduce yourself to the public that way, that's the pitfall. Their perception is what gets you money, is what keeps your longevity, what provides you tenure. If folks don't like what you're selling, Mr. Shook to you says, future request, what's your take on this T app nonsense? That it's nonsense. But I don't know much else about it. I just see that people have been talking about it a lot. I do think it's nonsense, though. I'm not sure if it's a real app or not. I haven't looked that far into it. Ciara's family are military. There's some basic discipline and decorum Ciara was raised with, even with the backsliding with Future. Yeah, which is, I think, why she separated herself from that so quickly. I'm not going to say she did it easily, but I think that that's why. I think once she saw the writing on the wall, even when she tried to do the whole kumbaya, let's all get together, his previous baby moms, and let's do this super family thing, that didn't work. Because again, she's not the same caliber of the women that he had children with prior to their son together. You know, and I can relate to that. I can relate to getting down in the guff and dating a guy who was from the other side of the tracks and just realizing this ain't for me. You're cute and all, but this isn't for me. I'm not like these. And when you realize that, it's like no amount of cuteness, no amount of pipeline can keep you there. Because I very much like my lot in life. I very much like the stance that I am in and how I am perceived. And so, as a man, if you can't appreciate that, I really don't have any business with you. We don't have any business with each other. So, thank you for listening to me wax poetically about Clay Thompson and Megan Thee Stallion. While I wish them the best, I can also wish them the best apart from each other. I think there's a lot more meat on that bone in terms of their lives if they are not hinged in a relationship together. Now I'm going to scroll up to you guys answering my question from earlier. I asked everybody in the chat if they could pick one word to describe me physically. And a few of you who have actually met me in real life answered that question. Those of you who did not also answered it, so I appreciate you doing it. It's still not too late. Just one word, and then I'm going to go. The reason I asked this question, okay, Dr. Dunbar says, fine. Thank you. I appreciate that. Indigo Flow says tall. Third World Colombian says natural. These are all good ones. I think that's it. I don't think anybody said anything else to that question. Clue Studio says slim. He knows where I'm going with this. That's why he answered that way. Don't spoil it, Clue. So many of you know that I used to weigh 300 pounds, and I have had some difficulty with seeing myself in the way that others see me, especially people that I meet now. Because people that I've met, let's say in the past 10 years, don't know 300-pound Toya. They've never met her. They only have seen her if I've shown pictures. And I stopped doing that. I stopped walking around with pictures of me to show people, because that's not who I am anymore, right? But I still struggle with not seeing myself that way. Like Logically, I know I'm not 300 pounds anymore. I've been on the scale recently. I'm about 158 right now, right? So I know that I'm not a big girl anymore. But when I hear people describe me as slim, it doesn't feel accurate. It doesn't feel accurate. And I guess I'm just sharing this with y'all to be vulnerable and just give you a different side of weight loss that I think a lot of people don't really discuss very much, which is that, yeah, I mean, it's great to be in a smaller body and to buy smaller clothes and to feel like you have a little bit more of an option of what you can wear because now you're in the size that most stores sell. Um, the way I see myself in the mirror is, I think, very different than what other people see. So again, I had some coworkers, some lady coworkers of mine talk about how slim I am. And I won't say that it made me feel uncomfortable. It just was like, am I really slim? Or are they just saying that because they're heavier than I am? I don't know that people would say that I'm slim. I don't feel slim. I feel like I'm average sized. I wear a size 8. I'm 5'8". I don't know. I don't think that's slim. Now, if I was, at one point, I was a bit smaller. At one point, I was a bit smaller. And I think that also F's with me a little bit because I didn't realize how small I was until I put on a couple of pounds and started putting clothes on and started seeing, like, okay, all right, some things are moving around a little bit differently in my clothes than they were. But also, as I'm making some decisions lately on lifestyle changes, I'm working out again more regularly, but also I'm considering a more plant based lifestyle. Uh, all of these things are coming to mind. So that was why I asked you guys to describe me physically in one word, because I wanted to kind of see if I would get people to say that I was slim or thin or slender or whatever. Dr. Dunbar says slender, and he's laughing, but okay. Um, Mr. Shug to you says 150 on a tall lady is a good fighting weight. Yeah, I'm not 150. I'm 158. I'm closer to 160 than I am to 150. But I am a tall lady proportionally, I guess. I'm not average height. I'm a little taller than average height. Better you says I'm in a size 12, 13 shoe. They ain't ever got my size. Clue says average is size 14 these days. Yeah. And at one point in my life, I was a size 14. And at that point in my life, you couldn't tell me nothing. I didn't think I was heavy. Um, this was probably my freshman year in college when I was a size 14. I was a 14 in high school going into college. And then that freshman 15 became 30, became 50, became, you know what I mean? It just kept going and going. And I was just eating and eating. And by the time I graduated college, I was a size 20. Yeah, probably a size 20. But at my heaviest, I was a size 24. Now I'm a size 8. Um, Indigo Flow says, I was thinking spelt, but I went with tall. Always on the respectful side of things, Indigo Flow. I really appreciate that. I do. But I mean, I really wanted y'all to be honest with the one word answer because I didn't want to drag it and I didn't want to give you any scope of what I was referring to until after I got some answers. So I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate y'all giving me some insights into how you see me. Hopefully, I can meet more of you guys in person so we could chop it up. Because some things lose themselves on YouTube, on the internet, and in social media interaction. I think when you get to sit and talk with someone, you can kind of really feel their energy and get a sense for who the person really is. It's Kenny YT says, keep up the good work, Toya. Progress, not perfection. For sure. For sure. Yes. Progress is always what I'm looking for. I just want to be the best version of me every day. I want to keep striving towards a better version of me. And the older I get, the more I realize, like, hey, some of those modes of operation are outdated and no longer serve me. So it doesn't stop at making decisions to keep the weight off. It continues in the journey of being healthy and making sure that I'm giving my body what it needs, and understanding that that can change. Sirius Ross says, "Do you fear the weight returning?" Um, yes. I would be lying. That's one of the cats. That would be lying if I said I don't fear the weight returning. That would be a lie. But it's not top of mind. It's not something that I'm painstakingly paying attention to, because I think I've found a really good sweet spot in terms of what I'm consuming and making sure that what I need, I'm giving my body before I give it what it wants or what I want. Because that's also mental, right? If you give your body what it needs, it doesn't really want for anything. It's our brain that tells us we want that ice cream or those chips or whatever that we don't really get much from, but that we convince ourselves that we like. It's our addiction to those things that makes us want those things, right? So I'm pulling back on those things because I realize I don't need them, but that they do offer me comfort. And so I allow myself. That has been a hallmark of keeping the weight off, honestly. Just understanding that sometimes it's okay to relent to your desires, but just not making those desires, or not making that relenting to those desires a regular part of my day. Something that I look forward to every now and then, and balance with moderation. Clue says your brain doesn't lose or gain weight at the rate that your body does. Okay. Dr. Dunbar says, I think weight and health are a continuous journey for a lot of people, especially as we age. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to get across here. You're picking up what I'm putting down, Dr. D. I really appreciate that. Because age does. I was driving to work today and I'm like, man, I have really been on this planet for 40 years. Like I almost forget that sometimes, because I'm like, man, I still, like I said, I was just thinking about how I used to love watching Nickelodeon. That doesn't seem that long ago, but it was. It was. I've lived a whole life since then, since those ages. I'm a whole adult, fully grown adult. And then, I don't know. It's just, folks made fun of Luther Vandross, but it is a continuous journey. Yeah. Rest in peace to Luther. We'll never have a man like that again. We'll never have a singer like Luther again. I don't think we gave him his flowers while he was here enough, man. That is some music that I will always enjoy. True, weight is usually emotional eating. Yeah, I mean, I can admit that a lot of my eating was based in comfort, control, and comfort, for sure. And sometimes it still is, to be honest with you. But I have a better relationship with my emotions now. I have a better relationship with, am I really hungry, or am I only eating this because it's going to make me feel better because this salt affects my brain? Like making the connection to all of it and understanding, is it worth it later? Because there is an after effect. There is a consequence to giving into your desires, right? It's not always about the release. Anyway, thank you for listening to me babble on and on and on about that. If you liked what you heard today, please hit the like button and maybe even share it with someone. I welcome your comments in the replay. I welcome your feedback in the replay. And I look forward to seeing y'all again on Sunday. Me and my mom are going to come back with a show on Sunday. I hope you guys tune in for that. I'll schedule it sometime soon so that you can prepare for it live. And Y'all know how I like to end my streams. I like to tell y'all peace, ease, and whatever you please. But before I go, I am going to play my outro, and then I'll see y'all later.